Good afternoon and welcome to the Florida Weather Watch's weekend weather update as we now are approaching the weekend. Uh, Today is Thursday, March 16th. So I wanted to give an update on what you can expect for your weekend ahead, um, as well as looking at the latest updates with the current drought situation in Florida. But before I continue, please make sure you hit that subscribe button below, turn on notifications so that whenever I do post a video, you'll be alerted that I have posted a new update, and hit that like button below, please, to let me know whether or not you're liking the content that I'm providing and the forecast I'm providing. Uh, and if you feel like I need improvements or have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comments below. I always will read comments and respond to comments as much as humanly possible. So, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the weekend weather update from the Florida Weather Watch. My name is Daniel, and today I'm going to be looking at what you can expect for this upcoming weekend, as many of us in Florida are getting ready for spring break. I know I am, as here where I live in Broward County, we are going to be having our spring break starting tomorrow after teachers get off of work. So here we go. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into your forecast for the next few days ahead. So what I'm going to start out with is I'm going to be showing you the upper level water vapor imagery from the United States of America. And why am I showing you this? Well, it's going to show us the players that are in place that are going to determine and impact the weather over the next few days here. Okay, a few things to note here, ladies and gentlemen. The first thing to note that is noteworthy here is that we had a cold front go through, um, and this cold front has cleared the area. Many of you may have noticed much cooler temperatures in the middle of this week, which really brought some much needed relief to the state of Florida. And as you can see here, the flow has been coming down the state from the north and northwest, and that's what's really been providing some of that heat relief. But what's happening right now is we're going to have a bit of a shift this weekend, as we're going to see some wetter weather coming into the picture here. And you can notice that with this big sprawling system that is impacting Texas, the Arklatex region, as well as parts of the Great Lakes region. What's happening right now is there is a developing cold front, there's a developing storm system that is providing some pretty nasty weather, some severe weather. There's actually a tornado watch in place for this region of Texas and Oklahoma, as there's some thunderstorms, very severe ones blowing up right now. And what's going to end up happening is the, that weather and that system is going to slowly shift off towards the east, and maybe even east southeast through time. And the way that we could see that happening here is if I go ahead and show you this, you can see this big spin that's happening in Canada. And what's going to happen is you could kind of see right now on this water vapor imagery, if you look closely enough, there's a little bit of a push happening to the south here. And that's going to be part of what's called of a jet stream dive. So you can kind of see how the pattern is. Jet stream dives right here, comes up here, and then dives like that. That is your jet stream currently. And as this system moves towards the east, this jet stream dip is going to go with it. And that's going to bring the weather. That's going to bring some cooler weather at times to Florida in the coming week. And as we go ahead and we look at this pattern here, you're going to be able to see it very clearly in the GFS model here. So what I'm going to be showing you is the American Computer Forecast Model, the GFS, a Global Forecasting Systems Model. And as you can see here today, this is for Thursday at 8 p.m., the beginning of this model. And you can see everything is very clear across the state of Florida here. No rain to talk about. nothing but sunshine across the state of Florida right now. But that will change starting late tomorrow night into the day on Saturday for northern Florida, and then eventually translating down the peninsula into South Florida for Sunday going into Monday. So let's go ahead and step this through time, ladies and gentlemen. And you're going to see as I step this through time, I'm going to try to go through time as quickly as possible. You're going to notice tomorrow evening, you see the showers and thunderstorms. There's going to be a line of showers and thunderstorms taking place over the uh, Florida Panhandle here. And this line of showers and thunderstorms is that cold front, is that storm system that is currently affecting Texas. No, we are not anticipating any severe weather. Actually, I'll even show that to you on this forecast, on this view here. This is a Storm Prediction Center outlook for Saturday. Um, and you can see only a thunderstorm outlook. There is no colors what to speak of that signify any severe weather at risk. Not even a 1 out of 5 chance on the severe weather scale, which would be marginal. So when we go ahead and we look at this, oh, they have actually updated this. So when we look at this, there could be some severe weather that happens later in the day tomorrow for the Florida Panhandle. But given the current GFS model and the way it is looking right now, I don't know if we're going to see much in the way of severe weather. We could see a severe thunderstorm or two happen in the Panhandle of Florida, but it's not looking particularly impressive in the modeling, to me at least, in the coming days. And as we move this model up through the day, up through the morning on Saturday, you could see some heavier rains happening across northern Florida here. And then you can see right here, this is kind of our boundary right here, our cold front right here, that is starting to move through here. Ahead of it, you're going to have some showers and thunderstorms. Behind it, you're going to have some cooler and drier air come through. So behind it, you're going to see the cooler and drier air here. That's going to filter in behind. And then ahead of it, you're going to see your showers and thunderstorms building across the entire frontal system. So that's going to be for Saturday morning. Remember, the timestamps are always at the top here. So this is for Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And then as I step it through time here, it starts to slow down and the rainfall starts to get less heavy as the day goes on. And then it starts to break apart a bit. The energy is not there through the night on Saturday. And then going into Sunday, the boundary starts shifting into South Florida here. And what you're going to notice here is the boundary starts shifting into South Florida. You kind of see this line. You can kind of see the angles of the lines here, where there's a bit of a boundary that's happening right here. That is going to be moving through later in the weekend here. And then as we go through time here, notice in South Florida, we're finally starting to see some showers and thunderstorms occur in South Florida, where there hasn't been much lately. You're gonna start noticing some showers and thunderstorms, and I'm gonna keep that circle there because you're gonna notice the boundary kind of stalls, and you're gonna notice that there's gonna be rain throughout the entire afternoon, and into the overnight hours, for especially Southeast Florida, and it could get heavy at times. You can notice kind of this little concentration here of heavier rains down in Broward and Miami-Dade County right here that shows up on the American model as well. So as we go ahead and step this through time, this is Monday at 2 a.m. And then by the time we get into Monday morning at 8 a.m., most of the action has shifted off to the coast. And then we start the weekend, we start the next week a bit drier as the rainfall starts exiting the coastline here. As far as temperatures go, we're not going to see much in the way of a lot of heat happening. Here's the temperatures at 2 p.m. As of this afternoon. Very comfortable temperatures across the state of Florida here. As you can see, widespread 70s across the entire state. No 80s to speak of, which is completely different than what we were experiencing last week. Um, where last week at this time we were constantly in the mid to upper 80s, even 90s in many areas of Florida and the Florida peninsula. 60s still dominating up in the northern part of the peninsula. And as I go through time here, you're going to notice we're going to see widespread 50s and 60s tonight across the Florida peninsula. Notice how actually it kind of gets warmer across the Florida panhandle. It kind of looks weird how the Florida panhandle is going to be 70 degrees tomorrow morning. And then you're going to be looking here and you're going to be seeing the Florida peninsula right here in the 50s and low 60s here. That's because what happens ahead of these cold fronts is you get this flow that starts building up from the south and southwest. And this flow that starts building ahead of a cold front starts bringing this warm air from the Gulf of Mexico. So while the flow is still coming a bit from the north across Florida, the flow is going to start changing over to a southerly direction to the Florida Panhandle, and that's why you're seeing the temperatures change in the Florida Panhandle here. And then as we go through time here, let me not jump around. As we go through time, notice how the temperatures back in the 70s by tomorrow, maybe some 80s across the state ahead of this storm system. But I want you to notice over here in the Florida Panhandle what happens in the afternoon and overnight tomorrow. Bada boom, there's that cold front. There's that cold front. Very easy to tell where that cold front is right here. You can see the differences in temperatures, much lower temperatures behind the front. Right here, where you're going to see 50s, even 40s for Mobile, Alabama, right here. And then ahead of the front, you're going to see 60s and 70s tomorrow morning across, not tomorrow morning, Saturday morning across the Florida Peninsula here. And then as I go ahead and step it through time, cold front starts coming down the peninsula. And then you get this buildup of heat in South Florida ahead of this front as heat builds up ahead of the front. And then behind the front, you could definitely see the differences. By 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon, Gainesville will be only 58 degrees, 50 in Tallahassee, 50 in Mobile, Alabama. But down south, below the boundary, south of the boundary, you're going to see 85 degrees in Port St. Lucie, 83 in Orlando, 84 in Palm Bay, 81 in Miami. So this is a big difference in temperatures here. And then as we continue to go through time here, bada boom, the heat starts kicking out to the south. Cooler air starts filtering down the peninsula so that by Sunday morning, much of northern Florida will be experiencing temperatures in the 40s again. Mobile, Alabama, even the upper 30s here. So we're going to see 40s across the northern part of the state. And then still southeast Florida stubbornly holding on to some warmth in the low to mid 70s here as the front doesn't exactly clear all the way through. Remember that front that I was talking about starts stalling a bit right about here. That's where our front is. So the cool air doesn't really filter all the way through into South Florida here coming up. Into Sunday, it's the humidity and the rain stays around South Florida into Sunday afternoon. And then overnight Sunday into Monday, that's when it gets cold yet again in northern Florida. Tallahassee possibly could be flirting with the upper 30s come Monday morning. So we're still not done with winter. We're still not done with cold weather for northern Florida. I think at this point, when for the areas in South Florida here, I think our times of seeing temperatures in the 50s and in the 40s and 50s is probably almost done at this point, especially in this part of the state, the eastern part of the state. Western part of the state could still see 50s, but the eastern part of the state, as you start to get some of this flow returning from the Atlantic here back in, like I've spoken in previous videos, that's where you could keep your warmth and your humidity going. So big temperature differences happening, more rainfall coming in. The Weather Prediction Center shows this rainfall very well. You can see two concentrations of heavier rainfall occurring here. One over the Big Bend area of northern Florida, another one right here in southeast Florida here, where the front kind of stalls out. Uh, a lot more moisture in thunderstorms over the Gulf, but that's going to stay out in the Gulf of Mexico. But the bad news about this is this area right here, southwest Florida. This area right here, barely any rain. And why do I say that's bad news? Because the new drought outlook came from the from drought.gov, and the drought situation is getting worse um, across southwest Florida here. It is now starting to expand the areas of severe drought, and that could impact water supplies in this area, especially since we live um, pretty much on the ocean here, where you could start to see this saltwater intrusion start to infiltrate these areas to replace the water that's lost in the water table, and that would just cause a lot of issues. But the bottom line is, folks, that we are going to be looking at a wetter weather pattern than we've been seeing in many weeks now across Florida. Normal temperatures happening during the day. You're going to see cooler temperatures at night across most of the state except South Florida. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I will plan on doing another update this weekend on the weather situation going into next week. I also am going to be, I'm in the works right now of creating an educational series where I will be teaching about different aspects of weather. The first one I'm going to be working on is one that came from a suggestion from a follower of mine on Florida Weather Watch's Facebook page, as well as one of my coworkers um, at the middle school that I teach, about the differences between high and low pressure, what causes them, what's differences in the weather that happens with them. So that will be coming up next week as well. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Uh, Make sure you have your umbrellas with you in northern Florida, especially starting tomorrow afternoon and into the day on Saturday. For South Florida, your wet weather comes mostly on Sunday. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button below. Please share this out. Please share this video with all your friends and family as I look to continue to grow this YouTube channel and this YouTube community. Hit that like button, please, and don't feel afraid to comment below. I always welcome comments and I will respond to them as soon as I can. And as I will always close out every video, there will be weather, whether or not. But no matter what the weather will be, I'll be here tracking it and keeping you informed along the way. Have a terrific rest of your Thursday, a wonderful weekend ahead, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.